Davide como se dice in italiano, David Bollati. I am so happy to have you on my show. We've known each other over many years. Of course, I had my time when I was at L'Oreal, and total disclosure, I had the chance to work for you. I really enjoyed discovering the brand so many years ago. And let's say in your own words, David, who is David Bollati?
David Bollati is a son of two parents that started by accident business in the beauty industry in the 60s because they had some neighbors that were in the packaging industry, that is an adjacent industry. And but in growing up, I felt that my parents needed help, and I genuinely care about them, and I generally wanted to really help them. So I organized myself to see, what I could do to help, and that was the main motivation for me to join to study pharmacy at the University of Parma, and then to move to the US and to France to finalize my education. Then when I felt that I could bring something back to the small little lab, that was the beginning of the 90s. It's been a while already. I did it, and I started to turn the company of my parents in a small little artisanal lab, focusing on contract packaging, manufacturing for third parties, into more of a branding company. And so now we have a couple of brands after all those years. So yes, maybe when you ask me who is Davide Bollati, and I answer you through what I do, what I did in my profession, maybe there is some truth in there, because in my family, business, personal and professional, has always been mixed, has always been just opposed, and I have to say that it's not that bad not to have a 9-to-5 job when you like it, when you're passionate, when you have love for it and dedication.
It's so important to have those type of passions that bring you energy, because obviously running a business as you did and still are as chairman, it takes a lot of energy to get a company. I mean, really congratulations for that journey. I wanted just to circle back to your education. You decided to go to the States, to Farley Dickinson. Why the choice of going to America?
You want to know the truth? Because
I
at that
do.
time, at that time in Italy, you had to do your military service, and for me to waste 1 year in military service, I think was not an option. So I don't know. And actually, now after all those years, it's even more of a waste to go into military to defend a flag, to defend something. Even though there is more and more, it seems there is more and more need. I think we should ban all the flags in the world, because under a flag, you do a lot of. I mean, behind you do a lot of things that you justify a lot of sins, let's say. But anyway, that's a different conversation. I had to go to serve the military in Italy, but the alternative was to do an international cooperation. It was not so easy because you had to be on time with your exams, you had to be, or your university exams, and then you had to stay out of Italy until 26 years old. So I became doctor in pharmacy at 23. And then I went to New Jersey to work on a raw material, a company that was doing raw material for the beauty industry as a product development chemist. And then when I turned 26, I moved back. I moved back to the company of my parents, because at that time I was released from the military obligation.
Well, I didn't do any military service, although since I was a US citizen, and then I could have tried to get a Belgian passport at one point, but they said you need to do your military service in order to become Belgian. And so I did not take up that opportunity there. So something we share, David, at some level. So what's interesting about your background, as you were describing the beginning of Davines Group, which of course also includes Comfort Zone now, is that you have the packaging background, then you have the chemistry background, and you have the raw materials background. Is that right?
Yes, yes. It was. I also had the background of the very, let's say, entrepreneurial spirit, and a very, very small artisanal lab. And this, I think, is something that made the difference. I was also very much into marketing, and in fact, the first line that we launched at the beginning of the 90s already had some special focus on specific packaging with extra sensoriality compared to the one that were actually happening at that time. So yeah, it's the beauty of the beauty industry is that you are requested to integrate different disciplines into an art craft, and that's you have to use as much as you can to for a specific manufacture.
Indeed. I was just wondering, or just thinking about how the roots of your company informed the company that you have today. Because of course, you are noted for the Davines Group, a company I know well for having been competitors for a while. You always had a special type of packaging, which really stood out and made it feel like a different brand, a different presence online.
Yeah, through packaging, there are lots of messages that can be sent, and the packaging is an expression of we try to use packaging as an expression of who we are or who we want to be, or the value and the purpose of the company, and so there is a lot behind. We have our own let's say Carta Etica of packaging. We have different goals, of course. In these years it changed a lot, but now packaging is one of the, it's probably after raw materials, the second component for of the footprint of the beauty industry, and so that it's a very important element that needs to be considered, but not only from a opportunistic perspective, but I think also from a value-based and purpose-driven perspective. As Davines, for sure, this is how we approach it.
Indeed. Well, so let's just go back to the beginning quickly about Davines. The name Davines. How did that come around? And because I know coming up with brand names is always quite an interesting thing. But the name of the company, Davines.
It came out from my parents. Very simple thought process, very basic. The mix of the two names of the two sons. They did not have a budget for an advertising company, I guess. Therefore, they came out with this name. Let's say out of love for their kids, or So that my sister is Stefania, me is Davide. So they mixed a little bit the name, and this is and it came out like that.
Well, the good news when you have kind of like a mixed name like that is that Google likes it because it's not common, and presumably is easier to get the .com than David.com, for example.
For sure.
So when you're just now talking about the purpose, at what point do you think, let's say if I put the context is, purpose is something that is definitely trendy today. But you guys, you've become a B corporation. You've really taken to heart the notion of having a company with purpose. Can you tell us what is the purpose, and how did it come to be your purpose?
The purpose of Davines today is to do our best for the world by creating good life for all through beauty, ethics, and sustainability. It's quite a it's quite a high, you say, a high
Target.
declaration of intent, a high target. But we refined it a few times during those years. Before it was a little bit more specific. Now it's a bit, more higher target. And but I think it's a natural progression. In 2005, we added sustainable beauty under the brand name, the brand of Davines. So in 2005, we already clarify our intentions at least, and because it came out of a work that we've done during the creation of the Carta Etica. We appointed a philosophical counselor that asked us, that helped us to figure out what we wanted to do in business, what was, why we were doing things that we were doing. And once we have clarified this through a list of values, a list of principles that we believe were important to follow. It was a work of, let's say, 100 colleagues at that time. So this Carta Etica was a wonderful journey, a wonderful exercise. I still remember those years, all the, let's say, battles that we were doing among us on, defending this principle, that principle. No, but this principle goes against the other one. There's a conflict here, there's a conflict there. And then at one point, we came out with, let's say, a chart of, there were a lot of principles and values, maybe around 12, I think, 12, 14. And that was the base. Then since then it has been a journey. Then we met by accident at another at a TED talk. We met. We came across the B Corporation. That was 2015, 2014. It was at the beginning in Europe. These were companies that were stakeholder driven and not shareholder driven. So a new breed of companies, a new breed of organizations that, as you know, in this shareholder driven economy has been and still is the majority of all the companies in the world. Maybe 95%, 95% of all the companies in the world, they are shareholder driven. As Milton Friedman in the 50s, he even won the Nobel Prize. Not for that. The business of business is business. That's it. The only duty of a company is maximize profits for shareholders. And of course, while you do this, you have to stay out of troubles, legal troubles. As long as you follow the law, you're fine. But then it seems that maybe 50 years ago, this model could have been a good model, but now the way the world is going, the way the governments, intergovernmental organizations, the public sector and the private sector evolve. Now I think private sector has a duty responsibility to adjust a trajectory that is clearly not sustainable. So governments come in general a bit later. I think capitalism got away with a little bit too many murders. So now it's about time to readjust the model. And so now you have the growth. You have the thousands. I think now around 7,000 B Corps. So thousands of companies around the world are considering transforming their purpose into a benefit corporation and into a B Corp certified organization. And so that to give a little bit more weight, a little bit more measurement to this ESG that seems is the dans l'air du temps. as we say. But ESG has been okay. You have to do it because reports are becoming more and more necessary, or by law, especially if you are a public company. So, you need to defend. You need to defend yourself by having a ESG report. I'm not talking about that type of approach. I'm talking about an approach that is proactive, an approach that is genuine on the intent, and that you really, really want to consider all your footprint, to measure yourself, and to consider all the stakeholders that have an impact on your through your company. So if you want to call it in a different way, the supply chain. So the supply chain is also the environment, the suppliers, the colleagues, the clients, the communities that we impact. So as you can see, when you start to really genuinely consider all this as your, let's say, clients, customer centricity, client centricity. Okay, what how do you define your client? Well, all the stakeholders are in a way different types of clients. So once companies genuinely start to really consider this ecosystem, then some magic start to happen, and it's a magic that is more and more necessary, considering where humanity is going. I think I don't know, for B Corps, it's quite natural to think to think interdependence, and to think that many of the phenomena that are happening in the world today, unfortunately, it's quite clear to the origin of it. Okay, it's greed, it's power, but behind that there is also energy. Energy is a big thing. Energy, economy, or rare materials. That shows very clearly that we are getting too many in this planet, and we need to reorganize our the way we dispose of the planet. So I think that because of this clear situation, I would welcome more and more companies like B Corp, companies that are stakeholder driven more than shareholder driven.
David, lovely stuff. A lot of things within what you just said, and I wanted to circle back on one thing which really piqued my interest. You chose to have a philosopher to counsel you in the process of your purpose and your etica, your Carta Etica. I would love for you to tell us how, because I mean, the French are really great at philosophy. They like their philosophy, but there are not very many business people in the world who would invite a philosopher in to help them. Tell me about the process, and was that something you sort of dictated, or was it the team wanted? And then how do you choose which philosopher?
Well, this one was it comes with the first choice we made on HR. In HR, we hire a psychologist, not an HR manager. And this psychologist had a professor that was Professor Peretti, that was from Ivrea, a small little city on the Alps of Italy. That was the city of Adriano Olivetti. Adriano Olivetti was a very iconic entrepreneur in Italy in the 60s and the 70s. Actually, Olivetti, the writing machines, and then it turned into computer. And he was a real, let's say, enlightened leader. He did for his community, for the employees of Olivetti at that time. The purpose of the company was so unique that Olivetti has been taken as an inspiration for us. We even went to visit the company in Ivrea, close to Turin. Went to visit all the heritage of this company. That unfortunately then has been, it has been purchased by, it had a few turnarounds. And so basically today is almost disappeared. But this particular period in the history of Olivetti was extraordinary. Then he also passed away. So, and that, of course, did not help in the continuity of the company. But why a philosopher? I don't know. It's a passion of mine. But sometimes, I was always wondering if the goal of spending a life dedicated to beauty products was a life worth to be spent. And also the beauty industry for me has always, at least, I came into the beauty industry with the conviction that the beauty industry was a bit shallow, a bit, yeah, kind of like a shallow, kind of like a superficial industry. And so I had a genuine intent of trying to give some depth to this industry beyond the economic value of it. And so then of course I got some help from Greek philosophy, good and beautiful, ethics and aesthetics, Aristotle, and through that also we went as far as building a journey for a life worth living that was very well expressed in a very strong Greek word called eudaimonia. Bring out the demon out of you. But eudaimonia is kind of like a search of happiness that is not, let's say, an Anglo-Saxon type of happiness. Happiness in Anglo-Saxon term is something that is happening, is something that happens, almost by chance. The eudaimonia is a type of happiness that you have to build, and that you have to build through. It's a journey. It's not a happening. And so it's a. It has been a real journey, the life of Davide. That's why we pick the growth, a type of growth that is organic and sustainable. Is so these are solid, let's say, philosophical roots shape the decision that we made up to today in Davines.
I love that. Eudaimonia. Yes, it is all about the journey, not the destination. Just to go back to this B Corporation, you talked about it, you used the word magic. I'm imagining you didn't think it would be magical at the beginning. There's a lot of process. I've accompanied another company through the process. There are 7,000 of them. So maybe that sounds like a lot, but it's not really that lot on the scale of the world. Where did the magic happen? How did that it wasn't something you imagined was going to be magical, I assume.
Well, the magic is to expand your scope, is to feel that you are entitled to work on communities, you're entitled to work on the supply chain, that you can have a different point of view. And then, if I go back to when we didn't have that mentality, just launching new product, it's like, to me, I don't know, it's a bit, it's not as exciting. It's not, just coming out with a new product for the sake of marketing innovation or trend of the period, or I don't know, new consumer demand. Okay, this is the majority of efforts are going into this direction. The new generation, the technology. Okay, all of this is happening. All of this is that. But I've never been so driven by that. Probably because I don't think money brings happiness. and this is that money brings you daimonia. And in Davines, we always found that, thank God, the numbers are okay. We always found that money is a consequence of our, let's say, journey to daimonia.
That's lovely. Well, I certainly subscribe to that, David. That's it's so important to understand why we exist on this earth and to feel like you're doing something bigger. When I looked at your Carta Etica, one of your value principles is around innovation, and so many companies tend to think of innovation as new products and new packaging, new this and that. But for you, I'm thinking innovation was also in innovating the way to run a company, the way the why exist as a company. So it was an application of innovation in a much broader sense.
Yeah, innovation. We listed at least 10 different types of innovation. I think a relevant innovation for Davines is that we don't consider ourselves a product company anymore. We consider ourselves a purpose-driven company that uses products to achieve the purpose. And it's exciting to show, for example, on the theme of sustainability. After all those years, we keep on learning. We keep on changing idea of what we should do, and it's one step after the other. And it's also exciting because the more, let's say, the company grows and become more capable economically, then there is more that we can afford to do. So it's a good crescendo for good. That is, I think, what creates this magic we were talking about before.
So I want to talk to you about the fact that you're still a privately owned company. I don't know to what extent you can release any figures, how big you are. I know you have a presence worldwide. I mean, you're really in literally 100 or at least or more countries. And just you had the small little beginning, artisanal beginning in Parma. Now you are, I would call you a multinational. I mean, you're at least, in many countries, you're a big company, and you've stayed private. So maybe if you can tell us about how big you are, however you'd like to frame that, and then how is it that you've stayed a private company as opposed to the temptation of going public or getting that huge payoff for all the hard work that you've put in?
Yeah, I feel like a minority here, because it's true that if I look around, the temptation of the financial world is has been attracting many entrepreneurs, let's say, to exit. Maybe, I don't know, 90% of them also in this case. But Davines today is at the pre-closing numbers of 2023 is a year that is almost coming to the end, are around 265 million euros. And yes, we are still 100% privately owned, with my family, me and my sister and my mother. And I think that this choice is a powerful choice because it allows us to at least to try to make the right decisions. It's not that we always make the right decision, but when we make them, we think they're right, for the long-term longevity, for the long-term sustainability, for the stakeholder-driven approach that we have. And this is something that I'm sorry to say, but I met plenty of people from the financial, and I don't want to be in their shoes because it's very hard for financial people to be able to adopt the right indicators for sustainable growth. It's extremely rare to find people that have been able to do this. It's not impossible. For example, I always cite Brunello Cucinelli, that is a company that is very much purpose-driven, he has investors, minority investors in his quote in the stock exchange. And as far as I know, he has not changed anything of his way of running the company. But I find this as an exception. And so this reason, the reason of guaranteeing an organic growth of the company without shortcuts, without too much opportunism, lead us to stay independent. Also, the path that we set for growth, let's say between 10 and 20% growth, so possibly never below 10% because it's not exciting, it's not enough good for growth, actually not enough growth for good. And above 20% also is a bit scary because plus 20% every year, then the year after you have to cope with it when it comes to organic growth of everything, of industrial processes, the human resources, also the financial. But when you are between 10 and 20% of growth and on EBITDA, that is a bit below market because many leaders, many leading companies in the beauty industry are above 20% EBITDA. But we are more close to 15. And then recently, my general manager asked to reduce again the EBITDA, and I said yes, because if there is a good reason to reduce it, why not? Especially sustainability is expensive and is not always understood at the market level, at the consumer level, and we pay the price for it. So it's okay to not to stretch too much the EBITDA in favor of more coherence with the purpose. I understand, especially right now with the quotations. Yes, I could make different choices, but that will mean the end of a specific business model, probably also the end of a company with a genuine purpose, like what I can proudly say Davines Group is today.
And probably the end of a way of life as well. I mean, at some levels, because you with 15% EBITDA on 265, that's plenty of good profits. I mean, really, at the end of the day, and how many more BMWs or quote unquote whatever you want to get?
It's Tesla, not BMWs.
All right, of course, I was only kidding. But there's one thing I loved, and maybe it was almost a slip of the tongue, but you said it's good for growth, but it's also growth for good. And that's a really interesting combination between 10% and 20%.
Yeah. Again, you want to have an organic growth. When you grow too fast, culturally is painful, industrially is painful. And I see, we experience what it takes to have a sustainable growth, and it's painful since COVID. Now we've run, because now we still have the compounded average growth rate of Davines in the last 30 years has been 19%, and on the last decade things are not going down much, because usually when you grow more, you should have a CAGR that is lower. That's not really the case at the moment. So it means that the last 2-3 years we hire around 100 people per year. So let's say 10 people per month. So before we knew everybody by name. Now it's not the case anymore, and that is a bit that's a bit painful when it comes to the community. I have to say that our headquarters, Davines Village, is helping so much to keep the community tight because it's built architecturally with that intent in mind. But now even the village that we move into in the new Davines village headquarters in July 2018. Now we are running out of space again. Before, I remember, Minto, when you came to the old Davines factory, we didn't have parking spot, parking, it was like in the middle of the street, and same thing for the desks, because we always were in this, let's say, growth crisis. Well, now, okay, smart working is helping for sure, so that now at the Davines Village you can come and you can have you can book with an app your desk, because we don't have a space for every single desk. We have like 350 desks in the Davines Village, but now we purchase we found the opportunity to purchase our neighbor, and so next spring we'll have 50 more offices. So it's expanding, but again, the culture is and also machines, investment in machines, investing in warehouses. It's not that we like to be responsible of things, and again, you said that, okay, the Davines grew, but we are still 0. We are not even yet in the top 100 beauty companies in the world. Maybe soon, because we are close, but we are not there yet. So we are still a super niche way of thinking, super niche weight in the in the big ocean of the beauty industry.
Well, and maybe you think you're small, but I feel like you also stand out for being different, and it feels like that's partly thanks to being privately held. It's partly the vision that you've had, and now that you're a B corporation, you guys are chugging along. I'm wondering how and when, David, you have to think it's no longer the Davines village, but maybe it's going to be the Davines city or town.
Well, for sure, you are invited to the opening of a hotel, a regenerative hotel that we are putting together in the city of Parma, opening October 25. We have 2 years from now, but for sure, because we have thousands of visitors every year, so we were interested in expanding the experience of visiting the Davines village also at the, let's say, hospitality level. So plenty of innovation on an industry, hospitality, that is, I think, not that innovative in terms of purpose driven. Very few B Corp hotels in the world. Very few regenerative initiatives in an industry that is, let's say, tourism and hospitality, that is huge. Is when it comes to real estate, is bigger than the beauty industry. It's such a huge industry with thousands and thousands of locations in the world, and so we would like to make a statement also on this one. And so as you can see, maybe one of the things that make Davines different is that we think beyond the beauty industry, and also we take inspiration from the outside of the beauty industry mainly.
I love it. The Davines Hotel. Wow, that is
not really. It's not really a Davines hotel, but it's a hotel generated by Davines and also another company, Chiesi. It's a pharmaceutical company from Parma. So the idea of creating a community of entrepreneurs for the regeneration of the in this case of the city is I think is a strong statement. And by the way, we also applied in the beauty this principle. We also applied in the beauty industry because we have been one of the founders of the promoter of the B Corp Beauty Alliance that right now includes 72 B Corps that are part of the beauty industry. For many billions of turnover, I think around 7 billion, if I calculate well, these 72 companies, which is like maybe 2% of the world beauty market. The goal of the B Corp Beauty Alliance is to make the beauty industry a more sustainable industry in general, and cooperation, pre-competitive cooperation is the key. And that is the same principle of us investing in an hospitality project in the community of Parma, where we have a lot of people living. The quarter is here.
Phenomenal. Well, I'll be sure to put a little link into the Beauty B Corp Alliance as well in the show notes. So, in my book, one of my books, I talk a lot about the importance of governance and the opportunities of private ownership. Another area that for me is very interesting is the notion of community. And there's a sort of the trendy community piece. Hey, let's build a community of customers and make them talk about us. It feels like you guys have a much stronger and broader idea with regard to community. Specifically, obviously, you have the B Corporation, and you've talked about just now the community of your employees in the Davines village. How have you, I mean, to what extent are you crafting community? Is that something like an explicit thing you're trying to do, or is it just a consequence of what you do?
No, it's very explicit. We invest a lot in communities through events, through physical meetings. One thing is to create a community that talks, that say a few words in social media about, I don't know, a product, or that gives some stars or of appreciation, or some likes of appreciation. One thing is to build a community where you know people by name, where you know their aspirations, you know what they stand for, and together you become stronger than one, and you share, and there is support, and there is listening. So that is the type of community that I was talking about. In some parts we succeed very well. In some other areas, because we have different types of communities. The biggest one is the community, for example, of hairdressers of Davines, around 50,000 salons in the world, around at least 100,000 hairdressers, probably more than that. So this community, of course, we have a core of a few thousand that every year gather during in our events, and they become kind of like, let's say, family style events of 3,000 people. It's a borderline a bit, but we prefer to make it smaller. So that's why now we go back to more regional events. I was we did one in Colombia 2 weeks ago with our Latin America community of hairdressers and also distributors. And now we're doing one in Hong Kong this month of November, gathering all the Asian community. This is super important. Then we have other areas in the company where our community, we are not able to gather enough strength on certain communities. Then it means that maybe we don't bring enough value to the community, and I see a proportion. I see a correlation between strength of the community and strength of the business, and I see also a correlation of strength of the business and strength of our educational activities, and strength of the community and the business. So we do it deliberately, but out of not really out of calculation, but out of instinct. For example, in January we will spend 4-5 days all together, 500 people in Punta Cana, with all our, let's say, internal people in North America. North America is our number one industry, who today invest in high season, because January 6th in Dominican Republic is high season. 500 people for few days. If you make the calculation, it's going to be an expensive exercise, but we can't wait. We are looking forward to it because we think it's the best way to start the year altogether.
Oh, I love that. Well, I'll be in Cancun on that date, so not too far away. And of course, I know Punta Cana, and I remember the time that you moved to New York and the beginning of the Davines US journey. That was good fun.
Yeah, that was incredible. It was in New York and in France. I opened the two branches personally, so I have a very good pioneering memories on this one. And the strongest memory, just to give an idea of the type of endeavor, was that we started with a beautiful loft in New York with a bedroom in the back, and that was also where I was living. Paris, same thing, beautiful loft in Saint-Germain, like close to Rue de la, facing Saint-Germain-des-Prés, and little bedroom in the back. So that was really 24/7. But that, you know, and that was the energy, the passion was incredible. I miss those days.
I have a feeling I think I visited you in both of those locations. So yeah, those are good, warm souvenirs. The beauty industry, the one that I worked in, the professional hairdresser industry, is still a large part of your business. You also have the spa business, of course. But how would you describe how the hair or the hairdresser industry has changed over these years, and where are we today? Is it an growing, exciting industry? How do you define the future for this industry?
The future of the professional beauty industry, I think, would be a good one. Even though there have been a lot of changes in this period, particularly a high percentage of hairdressers going the independent route and going, especially in the Anglo-Saxon world, going towards independency, freelancer, and going to work in co-working spaces. Thanks to the technology like social media, you can market yourself, you can position yourself. But I don't know. I have a feeling. I'm also talking to some of my partners that I appreciate the most when it comes to thinking about the future of the industry. I feel there is kind of like we are in a kind of a swing of a pendulum, because many of those hairdressers that are becoming independent at one point, they realize that they are kind of lonely, kind of on their own. The government forgets about them. They don't have the discipline to really that you need in when you work. You cannot just work once in a while. You become friend of your client, and then it's becoming a bit messy. So many of those independent hairdressers, as far as I know, they feel that they want to go back to belonging to a team, belonging to a group, and to support each other, to have a common goal. So this is definitely an element. Then there is also the element of salons. Also talking to other people that inspire me in the industry, I feel that in the past there was more emphasis in beautiful salons, and salons are like beauty spaces. Right now, it's more rare to find salons that are beauty spaces that are an inspiration, that are even influencing your potentially your lifestyle. So I think the beauty industry should not forget the importance of spaces, of beauty spaces. And I visited some incredible salons. I just went to visit a salon in recently in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Mamma mia, it's like so beautiful. Just a brand new one. 200 addresses. Like these type of places, I think are okay. Brazil is a special case. I mean, salons that you find in Brazil, you don't find them anywhere else in the world, not even in the US. But there should be an emphasis on spaces for beauty. Let's say healing spaces, caring spaces. Spaces where you feel like a home, and because this is what is needed. To go to our hairdresser is not only about go to do your hair. I was quite impressed when I heard from in Italy during COVID, they did some market research, market study, and they asked people what was the most important thing you missed during COVID. Guess what? Going to my hairdresser was number one for majority of women. Number one, incredible. The power that goes beyond just doing good hair, of going to a salon.
It's amazing. I often I used to talk about this when I was running Redken. This idea that if you as a supplier can help a hairdresser to feel better about themselves, they will then in turn touch 1,200 people on average. And there's a community around that hairdressing salon. And this notion of loneliness, it's very apparent that we feel like we're really connected on social media, but we're really disconnected.
I'm sorry, Minter. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm sorry. I mean, maybe I feel a little
rushed. You have to go.
No. It's not about rush. I feel that okay, now we are in this artificial intelligence, social media, influencers, and this and that, and I don't know. I feel kind of traditional when I say this. There are two ways to look at it. Either in Davines we are becoming too traditional, or we're getting old, or we think that still the fundamental will stay. Considering the amount of projects that we have, I would like to think that is option 2 and not option 1.
Well, for sure, you and I aren't getting any younger, but I really like the way you were speaking about that. David, one last word for you, one last question. You guys have really done a stand-up job. You are a beacon in the industry. And yet I'd love to find out how you, David, last question, define success.
But success is to be content of your journey, to be I think as success is a combination of factors. It's a holistic, success. Is I think an holistic dimension. We all know that within our, let's say, the scope as human beings, we are so small, we are so fragile. We are extremely fragile, no, as human beings, and in our condition, our human condition, we know our human condition very well. So when it comes to success, I mean, success is again the last day of your life, to maybe think that you have lived a life worth living, and that you don't have too many regrets, and that your conscience is in a good place.
Davide Bollati, that's a lovely way to end it, that your conscience is in a good place. It was great to reconnect with you. Thank you for sharing your intimate and true words behind your lovely journey, going for eudaimonia and helping the beauty industry come along. Was there any final words, any links you'd like to let me know? Pimp some Davines or comfort zone?
No, but if you want to go more in depth, you can go to davinesgroup.com. You can go to see our sustainability report, and you can find literally hundreds of projects that we make on our big pillars of sustainability, decarbonization, circularity, biodiversity, and now even water. So these are maybe the last tips. You can go on also on Davines Haircare or Comfort on Skincare to go more in depth. But thank you, Minter, because with you is always I feel always very comfortable because of your human touch. Thank you because of this hour was pleasurable to me, and this is thanks to your kindness and your expertise in the industry combined.
Yeah, Charity, thank you for giving us an hour of your time stuck in between two airplanes in Dubai. You were totally present with me and us, and I really appreciate it. We will stay in touch, David, I hope.
Okay, Minter. Thanks so much.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.